If you are yet to watch The Guilty, then you're in for a real treat. This film is a thrill that keeps you glued to your screen the whole time. I mean, we couldn't seem to look away. Now, warning, there are major spoilers ahead, so if you haven't watched the film yet, pause this video and then come back afterwards. Stay tuned to find out what goes down in this gripping thriller film. While awaiting a court hearing for an event that occurred on duty 8 months prior, unhappy LAPD officer Joe Baylor works the night shift at a 911 call center. He receives a call from Emily Lighton, who informs him that she had been kidnapped. Joe discovers that she and her kidnapper are in a white van, but Emily is forced to hang up before she can provide any information. The Californian Highway Patrol receives the information, but without a license plate number, they are unable to find the vehicle. Joe dials Emily's home phone and speaks with Abby, Emily's 6-year-old daughter, who informs Joe that her mother has left the house with their father, Henry Fisher. Joe is able to acquire the van's plate number after getting Henry's cell phone number from Abby, which he relays to the CHP. He also dispatches a patrol car to keep an eye out on Abby and her infant sibling, Oliver. Joe discovers Henry's history of violence. He dials Henry's number and wants to know where Emily is being taken, but Henry hangs up. Joe immediately phones his off-duty former partner, Rick, and asks him to come to Henry's residence. Rick is concerned about Joe's next hearing, at which he is scheduled to testify. When the two officers arrive at Abby's home, Joe receives a frightened phone call from her and tells her to let them in. When the officers observe blood on Abby, they search the property and discover Oliver, who's either seriously hurt or dead, in the bedroom. Joe then phones Emily back and persuades her to use the van's handbrake, which she does, but the vehicle doesn't crash. Emily is loaded into the back of the van by Henry. She tells Joe, sobbing, that she thought Oliver had snakes in his gut and pulled them out. When Henry attempts to retrieve Emily from the back of the vehicle, she throws a brick at him and flees. Meanwhile, Rick goes into Henry's apartment and discovers records from a San Bernardino psychiatrist treatment facility where Emily was a patient. Joe phones Henry again, explaining that he was returning Emily to the facility because she had been off her medicine for several weeks due to a lack of funds and had unintentionally wounded Oliver during a psychotic episode. Because he does not trust the criminal justice system, Henry claims that he did not report the incident to the police. Emily phones Joe from a motorway overpass, hinting that she's planning a suicide attempt. Joe sends the CHP to her position while attempting to calm her down. He tries to divert her attention by disclosing that while on duty, he killed a 19-year-old because he was angry with him for injuring someone and because I could. Joe informs Emily that Abby requires her assistance and that he promised Abby that she would return home. Emily adds she's going to be with Oliver as officers approach and the call goes silent. Joe believes she has jumped, but subsequently receives a message from the CHP stating that she has safely returned to the ground. He also discovers that Oliver is alive and well in the hospital's intensive care unit. Joe then calls Rick from the restroom, disturbed, and requests him to retract his previous statement about the incident. Rick is urged to tell the truth at the hearing, even if it means years in prison. Joe then contacts the Los Angeles Times to tell a reporter that he's about to plead guilty to manslaughter charges. This film, a Netflix thriller starring Jake Gyllenhaal, has a twist-filled climax, as you just heard, and there are plenty of wild twists and turns throughout. The film is a remake of the same-name Danish film, which earned positive reviews in 2018. Gyllenhaal collaborated on the American version of The Guilty with Antoine Fuqua, which received excellent reviews ahead of its limited theatrical release and Netflix release. Although we have already gone through the official synopsis of the film, there are various huge plot twists throughout and some that definitely need a little more, explanation. Let's delve right into The Guilty. After watching The Guilty, many were wondering why Joe decided to plead guilty. Joe spends the entire film preparing to go to court the next day and win his case so he may return to active service. However, by the end of The Guilty, Joe's perspective has drastically changed. He phones his colleague and tells him to tell the truth in court the next day, even though Joe knows he'll be arrested. The Guilty's credits include a voiceover that says Joe pleads guilty as the trial begins, and Joe connects with a reporter who has been attempting to reach him all night. In The Guilty's finale, Joe's decision to plead guilty is a near redemptive moment for Jake Gyllenhaal's character. At the very least, it indicates that Joe is willing to accept the consequences of his acts and take responsibility for his conduct. Joe's experience on The Guilty influenced this decision, since his ideas about what was going on with Emily may have led him to realize what he had done earlier was wrong. Furthermore, it's evident that Joe had never truly dealt with the mental or emotional toll that comes with killing someone, thus his sorrow surfaced when he faced the prospect of Emily's death. Another burning question that viewers definitely needed more clarification on was, what exactly did Joe do to land in prison? For the most part, The Guilty avoids answering one of the most pressing plot questions. Why is Joe now working at a 911 call center? There are suggestions that he did something recently that disqualified him from serving as a cop on the streets. Joe's court date is the next day, which means he'll be able to return to active service if everything goes his way, according to the guilty. This is predicted to occur because Joe, and possibly others, persuaded his partner to lie during his testimony in order to make whatever Joe did seem less horrible. So what did Joe do to get himself in trouble? The guilty holds off on giving an answer until the very end of its little length, and it's that Joe killed someone while on duty. His admission comes during another chat with Emily, during which she threatens to jump off a freeway overpass and die. This is the effect of her realizing she was the one who hurt Oliver, and the blood on her hands and clothes is his blood. Joe, on the other side, informs Emily that he once killed a 19-year-old guy, and that he can't bear the notion of being responsible for her death as well. Joe claims that he shot the young man after he injured someone, and that he was enraged and intended to punish him. It's unclear why this man's conduct elicited such a severe retaliation. The finale of The Guilty provides the welcome twist that Oliver did not perish as a result of Emily's attack. Joe concludes that the youngster was past saving based on the minimal information he heard from the authorities on the scene, and hence Oliver died as a result of Emily's actions. The Guilty, on the other hand, affirms that the offers were successful in saving Oliver's life and transporting him to the ICU, where he was healing. The twist provides a sense of relief for Joe, but the film doesn't completely explain how this is possible. Although the events in The Guilty take place over the course of one night, it's unknown how much time transpired between Emily's first discussion with Joe and the film's conclusion. However, it's evident that Oliver was left bleeding at home for an extended period of time. The officers who arrive at Emily's apartment see Abby's hands are stained with blood, so it's probable Henry instructed her to try to stop or slow the bleeding until he could return. If that didn't happen, Oliver's injuries could have been very serious, and he probably would have passed away at the scene. As you can see, this film is very upsetting, but it does finish on a good note, knowing that Oliver, the baby, survived his mother's crazy manic attack. And there you have it, everything you need to know about the American film remake, The Guilty. There's no doubt that this film is insanely gripping, captivating, and keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time. This movie's so well done, especially because for the majority of the film, you truly believe that Emily is in danger and that her husband is some psycho killer, and just at the end, when it clicks for Joe, it clicks for the audience, making it such a great film with a very powerful plot line to keep you hooked. If you have yet to watch this film, we highly recommend it, and if you want even more, you can try watching the original film, which this one was based upon. However, it'll be in subtitles. Make sure you let us know your thoughts down below. Have you watched The Guilty yet? What did you think about the film? What would you rate this film out of 10? Let us know, but if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so you never miss any of our new and upcoming content. Thanks for watching.